welcome back to Blue Flag Bandits, the series that drives F1's worst car since 2010, so you don't have to in the often desperate hunt for points. And it is the Japanese Grand Prix of 2016. We are closing on the end of the season, just 4 rounds left after Japan, in America, Mexico, Brazil and Abu Dhabi. But right now, we're on a bit of a good run of form, touch wood, after a fairly difficult campaign. We took 2 points in Malaysia after taking second on the grid, but it was a scruffy race in Sepang and one that we were probably lucky to come out with points. But that's 3 races in a row: the victory in Monza, the 6th place in Singapore, and the 9th place at Malaysia. Japan, though, Suzuka, a circuit I'm not particularly great with, but let's take a look at that championship before we go any further. We remain 12th, 62 points on the board, just 4 behind Jenson Button, our rival, who we should beat by the end of qualifying, potentially, if not in the race, to win that rivalry. At the top end of things, it is Lewis Hamilton, 85 clear of Verstappen, with Rosberg in 3rd after his victory. He's on a bit of a comeback, trying to take that title again. He took the 2015 title in our series, so he's defending champion, but he is still quite a ways off his teammate. Vettel in 4th after a good recovery drive for him. Raikkonen in 5th with Ricciardo, Bottas, Massa, Hulkenberg, Perez and Button. There we are. We're only 8 points behind Perez, 12 behind Hulk, and actually 23 behind Massa, so a couple of good results towards the end of the season. We might be able to pinch 8th place. It's going to be a bit of a stretch, but there is an opportunity there. We're ahead of Alonso, Kvyat, Magnussen, Wehrlein, Sainz, Gutierrez. Grosjean got his first points of the season, overtaking us on the final lap in Malaysia to move up to 19th ahead of Nasser and Jolyon Palmer. Then it's Marcus Ericsson, who's yet to score this season and hasn't looked like scoring, unfortunately, for the Swede. In the Constructors, Mercedes lead Red Bull by 112, with Ferrari in 3rd. Then it's Williams, Force India, McLaren. We're 7th ahead of Toro Rosso, Renault, Haas and Sauber. And as I say, Suzuka, not really a circuit I'm particularly fond of, just somewhere I've never really connected with. We have taken pole here in the past, in the Lotus, I think, back in 2011. But it is going to be a tricky race for us, especially if Malaysia is anything to go by. Just never seemed comfortable at Sepang, and Suzuka could be very much the same. Similar sort of vibe to the circuit in terms of how the course is made up, rather than how it looks and the facilities and all that sort of thing. Lots of corners where you really do need traction, and if you get too early on the power, it will swing you around. Lots of places as well where going side by side could see us end up in a wall. We've been all right since that DNF at Belgium. Monza was a fairly lonely race for the most part. Singapore had its moments, as did Malaysia. We had instances with Raikkonen and Bottas and Wehrlein again at Sepang. So, not all clean, but F1 2016 does seem to bring that kind of wheel-to-wheel racing out in contact for the most part. So we've got to be super careful, particularly around Suzuka, because Suzuka, an old-school circuit, tight, twisty, narrow, barriers everywhere. So, yeah, we've really got to be on our game. With that in mind, we should probably go practice. What we do, we'll talk about the real world. 2016 Japanese Grand Prix. Suzuka was the venue for the next round of the 2016 season, and Mercedes came into this race knowing that a good result would net them a 3rd straight Constructors title, while Rosberg held a 23-point lead in the championship heading into the weekend after Hamilton's failure last time out. Practice 1 would see issues for a few drivers. Palmer only able to complete 13 laps with electrical problems, while both Alonso and Grosjean would hit the barriers around the track. It would be a familiar sight at the top of the times though, as Rosberg was fastest ahead of Hamilton and Vettel, the Ferrari a second off the pace of Rosberg. The second practice session would have a brief VSC interruption as the Haas of Esteban Gutierrez stopped at Dunlop, hampering Ricciardo's qualifying sim runs. Mercedes would remain in the same order as practice 1, with Raikkonen in 3rd, closing the gap substantially on the silver arrows. Damp track greeted the drivers at the start of the final practice session, meaning no drivers ventured out on track for the first 20 minutes, while everybody waited for the track to dry enough for qualifying simulations. This created quite the traffic jam, many drivers having to abandon their runs. Rosberg would once again lead the way ahead of Ricciardo and Vettel. The track was improving rapidly during Q1 after earlier rain, seeing a hectic rush to make it through the first session, one that prompted Red Bull to send both their drivers out with soft tyres after setting medium tyre runs, which ended up actually being good enough to get them through anyway. Button, Magnussen, Ericsson, Nasser, Ocon and Wehrlein would drop out. Q2 would see Mercedes once again smashing the quickest lap of the weekend, though Hamilton would slither wide at Degner as he struggled to match his teammate's pace. Grosjean would also find himself getting off track, surviving a scare at the final corner. Both Williams, both Toro Rossos, Alonso and Palmer would be the drivers to drop out. It was all Mercedes in the final part of qualifying, despite their rivals closing up during the session.
If the situation changes, we'll let you know.
The pendulum swung between Hamilton and Rosberg throughout, the German coming out on top by 13 thousandths of a second. Raikkonen would end the session third, ahead of Vettel, Verstappen, Ricciardo, Perez, Grosjean, Hülkenberg and Esteban Gutierrez. Throughout 2016, the Mercedes' starts were patchy at best, both drivers succumbing to poor starts, and this time it was Hamilton who had the poorest start, spinning his rear wheels and being jumped by the pack, allowing Rosberg to get away unscathed, followed by the other drivers on the dry side of the grid. Sergio Perez would find himself in third place off the line, but it wouldn't be long before Vettel would jump the Mexican, while the other Ferrari of Kimi Raikkonen would make a move on the other Force India of Hülkenberg, a move which was replicated by Hamilton not long after as he sought to make his way back to the front. The pit window began to open between Hülkenberg and Grosjean, and when Alonso headed for the pits, Red Bull produced a fantastic double-stack pit stop, eager to exploit the undercut. That worked for Verstappen, tightening his grip on second, but Ricciardo would find himself further back in the pack. The Australian would actually find himself behind Jolyon Palmer, and he attempted a move on the British spoon, the Red Bull running wide and covering his tyres in green dirt. Ricciardo would actually complete the pass a lap later, but he'd also have to contend with Raikkonen and Perez. Perez went for a move on Palmer at 130R, albeit an unsuccessful one, which in turn allowed Raikkonen to attempt a move on Perez. The trio headed down the pit straight 3 wide, Raikkonen passing Perez as both passed Palmer, just behind Hamilton, who was returning to the track, almost, making it a 4 wide moment at turn 1. Hamilton would begin to push, taking chunks of time out of the drivers ahead, aided by the fact that Verstappen and Vettel caught traffic, costing them huge amounts of time to their chasing rival. Hamilton would pit, and a rapid in-lap put him in position to undercut Vettel, forcing Ferrari into a stop that they didn't necessarily need, which actually cost Sebastian a podium spot. Hamilton would keep Vettel behind him before getting onto the back of Verstappen as the race would wind down to its conclusion. As is often the case at Suzuka though, passing is quite the challenge, and Hamilton would attempt a move on the penultimate lap, feigning to the inside of the Casio triangle. Verstappen saw him coming and covered the line, sending Hamilton into the runoff area. Rosberg though would be clear up front, taking the win and getting one hand on the championship with 4 rounds remaining, while Verstappen and Hamilton would complete the podium. Completing the points would be Vettel, Raikkonen, Ricciardo, Perez, Hülkenberg, Massa and Bottas. On a 3-race point streak after what's been a pretty tricky season. Though we didn't have it all our own way in the late year, Suzuka hasn't been the happiest of hunting grounds for us. I can't see us getting into Q3, we might even struggle to sneak into Q2. I really just lack confidence here, particularly in the S's. I can never seem to get the power down early enough to really get a good time. We've got to try and push for a top 16 though, we're on such a good run. So we'll aim for 16th spot and just try to make it out of the first elimination zone.
Welcome to Japan and the impressive Suzuka track for today's qualifying session, where we should be underway shortly. In recent seasons, much talk has been made about tyre wear. Some say it gets in the way of the racing, others say it's always been part of the sport. Are we going to see drivers trying to look after their tyres here, or throw caution to the wind and worry about that when it becomes a problem?
Tyre wear will probably be the dominating factor around this track. It's so easy to use up the life in your tyres as you seek to find the lap time. If you have a good balance to begin with, like the Mercedes and Red Bull, you'll always stand a better chance.
Thank you very much. And Crofty, and it's Q1 here in Suzuka, and the car felt pretty good, actually, during practice. It's dry as well, so we're not going to be experiencing any weather, at least in this session. Yeah, car felt alright. There's a few times where it tried to over-rotate, the back end tried to step out, but, you know, through the S's, I think, is where we could lose a little bit of time. I'm kind of hoping, though, that we can be competitive enough to really fight, at least amongst the midfield. Maybe our Q3 run might come to an end, but hopefully our Q2 run won't. We better get out there and try and secure that spot. But then at our fastest lap in Q1 as we head across the start-finish line. As you can see, we're behind the Haas of Grosjean already, and a little ways off Hamilton. So this doesn't look like it's going to be a long session, but we managed to get turn 1 and 2 right, keeping nice and tight to the apex before heading into the S's, the part of the circuit we really struggle with. And you can see we're just waiting to get on the throttle so much, but we are hemorrhaging time as we head up the hill towards Dunlop. We finally get to Dunlop and we over-rotate a little bit, which compromises our line in, and we have to feather the throttle to make sure we don't go drifting off into the gravel. But we head up towards Dagenham, and at least we're a little bit up on our best time. You can take a little bit of a curve, inside apex at the Degners, and that's exactly what we do as we head to the hairpin. On the brakes, nice and early, catch a little bit of the grass, which does unsettle us as we brake and runs us a little wide on exit, but that's not too bad, at least as we head now towards Spoon. The time is not particularly swinging in our favour if we want to get out of Q1, but we get into Spoon and we stay nice to the apex, run a little wide on exit, but then swing it back in for the second half, and now it's up towards 130R. We've lost a small chunk of time here in the last lap, so we're already making time up as we head up towards 130R. This is just hold it and pray the car stays, and that's exactly what it does. Flat out through there as we get to the Castle Triangle. Really late on the brakes, and we jump over the inside curb in the second half. Shortest run to the line here. We're only about half a second up. Is this lap even going to be good enough to get us out of Q1? Q1 comes to an end. As you can see, we're not in the top 12. Rosberg up at the top there ahead of Hamilton and Verstappen, and the kind of normal people you'd expect that they're Jensen up in 8th, which is good for him. Vettel then in 11th. But as we flick through, Verline knocked out in 17th, Jolyon Palmer knocked out in 18th, we are knocked out in 19th, followed by Kevin Magnussen, Marcus Ericsson and Felipe Nasr. It just, Suzuka's one of those circuits I just don't gel with, and the AI seem to be super quick here. After such a nice run of both Manors getting out of Q1, both of them knocked out in this one, and we're behind Pascal by just over a tenth of a second. Not far off Kvyat or Grosjean, but I just couldn't find any time. I had one lap at the end, I got it wrong. And yeah, we start from 19th. It's the first time since Hungary we've been knocked out in the first session, and we didn't really have the pace there. This could be a really tough race. Maybe we have to pray that the rain gods are smiling on us once again to bring us into some form of competitiveness. Let's cross to the race, see what Suzuka has in store.
And a very warm welcome to the Japanese Grand Prix. An event that has decided a Drivers' Championship 11 times over the years and has hosted some very memorable races as well. Who can forget Kimi Raikkonen's win from 17th on the grid in 2005, or Kamui Kobayashi's incredible drive to a podium in 2012. A lap of this historic racetrack covers 3.6 miles, and it's the only time during the season that we race on a figure-of-8 racetrack. The drivers can expect some intense G-forces through the 18 corners on offer here as they experience some of the highest average apex speeds on the Formula One calendar. And keep an eye out for overtakes going into the final chicane. And all this will be happening under the watchful eye of Anthony Davidson, who joins me for today's race. And assuming the weather holds, where do you expect to see the action unfolding today, Ant?
Well, most of the time, passing here is limited very much into the final chicane, or maybe down into turn 1 if you get a good run and some assistance from DRS. But if we're lucky, we might see a bit of bravery into the hairpin, a place that Kamui Kobayashi certainly made his own in the 2010 Grand Prix on his way to a very impressive 7th place. And as you say, Crofty, this is all assuming that the conditions hold out. We know how quickly the clouds can come in here at Suzuka, and if they do, all bets will be off.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. It was a good showing from Red Bull in qualifying, and Daniel Ricciardo starts from pole position, with Nico Rosberg alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas, and Alonso, Raikkonen, Hülkenberg, Button, and Felipe Massa, Vettel, Perez, Esteban Gutierrez, and Grosjean, Sainz, Kvyat, Pascal Wehrlein, and Jolyon Palmer, Amana and Magnussen, Marcus Ericsson, and Felipe Nasser starts from the back of the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
Thank you very much, Ant and Crofty. P19 after a really disappointing qualifying here in Suzuka. And a circuit that we just don't seem to gel with. This could be a really tough race, and we've been on a really nice run of points the last few, Singapore, Monza, and Monza, Singapore, and obviously last night at Sepang. The less said about the races before the better. The last time we were knocked out in Q1 was Hungary, and we didn't really have the pace to score points there. I fear it's going to be the same here, to be honest, unless the weather plays a part, because it is overcast, and we've seen rain in Suzuka before cause chaos on the Codemasters games, and in this series, particularly this season, rain has caused chaos as well. So, you know, we might be able to get something out of the race if there's rain. If there's not, we are going to struggle. Beating Pascal could even be a struggle. Jensen's way up the road. I don't think points are doable here, unless, like I say, something crazy happens. I think realistically we're only going to be aiming a couple of spots higher. 17th, I think, is probably the best we're going to get. We should be able to outpace the Renaults and the Saubers, and maybe Pascal. So retirements might help us as well, but the rest of the field so much quicker. So this is going to be a really tricky one, and we've got to be really careful down towards turn 1 on that one. But this might be, hopefully, could be the only blip of the end of the season. Maybe we can really make moves at America and Mexico and Brazil and Abu Dhabi to finish the season on a high and with more points on the board. That's all in the future, though. It's time to get the 5 red lights on and out again for the 2016 Japanese Grand Prix. And the lights then 3, 4 and 5. And away we go at Suzuka. Start wasn't great. Oh, Grosjean and Sainz though hampered Kvyat. Palmer moves to the middle of the circuit. Got to be careful into 1. In fact, maybe a little too careful as we then get tagged. Grosjean, I think it was Grosjean and Magnussen going off wide, or Kvyat potentially. I'm not sure. It's Kvyat. We then got tagged by Nasser potentially, I think. All a little bit messy through turn 1. Pascal's has made moves though. He's passed both Haas Carlos Sainz. Managed to stay ahead of Jolyon Palmer, who dug up the inside of Dagner 1. 17th. This has been really steady lap 1 progress thus far, but we will then dive up the inside of a group of cars. Gutierrez is still there, so we've got to be really careful on the exit. Sweep round the outside, we're into 15th, behind Pascal. 14th, mate, that's sorry. There, I'm chasing Vettel. Catch up to our teammate though. Gutierrez is in the slipstream, not close enough though. Like an orthodox line through 130R, but it does keep us with the field. We'll end lap 1 in 14th. There's Scruffy opening lap, but we survived it damage free at least. Again, nearly going to break ourselves into the back of our teammate into turn 1. Survive. They went for a move on button ahead, which compromised Pascal. We now picked up front wing damage.
The damage only looks minor, but you'll need to take it easy to avoid making the problem worse.
Through on their line. That's going to cost us our pit stop. We're going to need to repair that.
DRS is now available.
This is looking up towards 130 arch. Just squeeze him a little bit. There's a little tap. Kind of got unsettled, but we're safe. Really struggling with that little bit of damage. There goes Sainz. Slipstream though. Quick enough to stay with him. Gutierrez is going to try and go to the inside at 1. And he does, and he sends us right off into the gravel. Fall behind Verlaine, Grosjean and Palmer. They will at least get Palmer back, but he elbows us anyway. It's going from bad to worse. In the pits already as we move up to P11. Front wing at turn 1 as well. Not sure. No, it wouldn't be mine because we had our contact back at the Cassia Triangle. Somebody else has had contact into turn 1. And pit exits here. Not the best of friends. Group of cars heading into the pits, so we will move into the top 10, albeit briefly probably. To 8th place, just behind Hamilton. He's just heading out. Oh, they bump draft us. They come under the bridge. Trying to stick to the inside at the hairpin. Red Bull should get us quite quickly. Our fight either, really. Stopped us this season fighting guys up at the front.
The car ahead of you has just fitted the hard tyres. Car ahead now.
It's so easy to be spun out into a wall here, so. Inside at 130R, Have to cut across him. Run wide. Gets into turn 1. In fact, he's already through. Just right to the line. He'll still move up to 6th, thanks to other people pitting. Has just come out in front of Ricciardo as well. Yellow flag. Massa is out of the race. There's the safety car.
The safety car has been deployed. Watch your delta. Make sure you keep it positive as we catch the pack. Okay, slow down, slow down. Your delta is negative, which means you are too fast. Reduce your pace.
Almost inevitable safety car in a race in 2016.
Strategy change available to us. Would you like to keep to the current plan or try the new one? Copy that.
Next lap, but we'll come in now.
Understood.
We'll just move to the hard tyre, rather than what they're suggesting. Just one last stop in this race. We will box this lap. Carlos Sainz currently leading the race. That will change though. I think he's pitted in. Or has he? Has he actually carried on? Let's see if Toro Rosso have been in and out. They might have been. Is in. Grosjean stays out. We are slipping down. Oh, we're going to get held by Renault and Williams. Ericsson's through as well. Oh, look at that. Haven't been held in the pits for a long time, but they're into 17th place. Not good for us in terms of trying to fight in this race. The car is coming in this lap.
The safety car is in this lap. When the field accelerates, remember, there is no overtaking until the green flags. Safety car in this lap.
Right off into 130R. I don't think it's quite gone yet. Now they have. Green flag.
Let's get back up to racing speed.
Take out the ball arms at the Casio triangle. There you go. 16th. I got 15th. Jenson Button is in.
2 seconds.
Is that freebie off the restart at least? It looks like the field is split into 2 distinct groups. Obviously quicker than Ericsson ahead, so he's already all over the Sauber.
Any rain, but if a storm front does appear, then we'll let you know.
It's only a matter of time before the ice van goes for a move. Goes Raikkonen into 130R. This will compromise them both. Given the opportunity to close in, it does. You dive at the inside of Ericsson. Go a little too fast. Clip Kimi Raikkonen. And pick up damage again.
Easy on the car till we get it repaired. We don't want to risk making this worse.
This race has been pretty rubbish so far as we move into 12th. So to the inside at 130R. Oh, I think there might have been a little bit of contact.
Green flag. Green flag. We're racing again.
He's off the road, but survives. Now he's under pressure from Verline. Also with a much better run out in taking 2. A little bit of contact. Side Nero. Still there as we head into Spoon. Get later on the brakes. Stay in front of him. They are fighting a losing battle here, I think. Here comes Verline as well. Way off the road at 130R. Palmer's out.
Full course caution.
And we've got
The
another
safety
safety car.
is out. Keep an eye on the delta. We need to keep it positive to avoid a penalty. Slow down. Maintain
now.
positive delta. We're considering switching to an alternate strategy. Do you want to change or stick to plan A?
Airline follows me in.
Pascal
We've got
is
a
in
wing
the
change
pits.
though, so he's going to have a bad time waiting. So another set of hard tyres. New front wing goes on. We'll get jumped by Kvyat.
Go. Exit now. We're racing on the
18th.
exit.
19th as Naza goes past, so Mana 19th and 20th here in Japan. At least it's a safety car. We then collided into, just to really add to our woes, we're going to have to come in for another front wing. Back in the pits then, once again, after losing our front wing to the safety car. It was just in the middle of the road when we got there. To overtake Verstappen. A few other people in the pits as well, or have been in the pits. But back to another set of hard tyres. Another new front wing. They're last. Verlaine's gone
Complete. Go
past.
now. You'll be able to push sooner once these scrub tyres are up to speed.
Back onto the set of hard tyres that we just got rid of. I don't know if we'll go to the end. As is. We might try it. Nothing to lose now in this race, I don't think.
Let's catch up
43rd
to the
lap in a
field
row.
lead. We're dropping
We're going to
too
head
far
into the
back.
pits. We're going to get back
Remember
onto the
that we
hard
need to stay
tyres,
within 10
the
cars
fresh
of the
ones.
next car.
They should definitely last to the end then.
Release, release.
We're still behind the safety car.
Pit strategy complete. See these tyres through to the end now.
We are up to the back of the pack. Just one more lap behind the safety car. Cars coming in, strategy might still come back to us somehow. As we move past Marcus Ericsson, Fernando Alonso, and not quite Kimi Raikkonen.
The car ahead of you has just fitted the hard tyres. Car ahead now on the hard compound.
So that a lot of these guys ahead of us have still got a pit again. Safety car is coming in this lap.
Safety car in this lap. Safety car in this lap. Let's make sure those tyres are up to temperature, and remember there is no overtaking until the first safety car line. Stay in position until the green flags.
Maybe back out of it to avoid going into the back of Kimi Raikkonen. Compromises us a bit. The green flag is now
clear.
flying.
Green flag.
Verstappen's in, so we will be going at least one more place. Up to 16th. Make that 14th. We might still get something out of this race. And into one. No harm, no foul though. Just a couple of spots ahead of us in P12. I think Kevin Magnussen was leading the line. As Alonso takes a little look. Oh, Alonso catches us. off the road, and then Ricardo goes through. The yellow flag out ahead.
In the next part of the track, no overtaking
Also has to back out.
Gap to car in front is 1.9 seconds.
Things happened up ahead. Rosberg leads now. More cars in the pits. And more cars though. Enough to pull us into the points. We're into 10th. Get out of the grass a little bit. He's 10th. We're trying to stick with Alonso. Let's not forget, in 2015, in this series, he took a podium while we took 8th place. So we're going to try and go in the outside at Spoon. Connected, it just pops us back on the circuit. I'm not sure what's going on there, but we're still 10th. Marcus Ericsson behind us now, who's going to take a look to 130R. Very wide. Very off track to defend. More cars in the pits. We do. Grosjean, he's in. Sainz is in as well.
You're 4 places down on Pascal.
To 8th.
Okay, the stewards have now enabled DRS.
To look for the inside. All goes out. Oh, Ericsson. Really lacking for pace here. Try and go and rich mix to the end, see if that'll help. I think there are still cars ahead of us that could possibly need to pit, Pascal being one of them. Ericsson currently running in the points. Next driver yet to score, he's got Rosberg behind him. Currently leading this Grand Prix. Rosberg gets past Ericsson. Airline's in. Yeah, there are other cars in the pits.
Pascal has come into the pits. Pascal in the pits.
We're going to make more spots. Lewis Hamilton's in. Airline's in by 6th. Well in the points here at the moment. Guys are trying to hold it to the end. Easier said than done, I think. Back to the outside once again. Cars driving into us. So he's obviously much quicker. He should have us on the run up to 130R. Stay in front of him for now. If we can hold on to the points, it's going to be a mighty hard task.
Okay, gap ahead is 9.8
It's not close enough to go for a move into 130R. Felipe Nasr's in the pits now as well. To the outside, through he goes. Who else is in the pits? That's Hulkenberg, who was leading. And we cut across him. He's round. I don't think it's affecting him too badly. We're in 5th though. Marcus Ericsson is 6th. He's the man behind us. To score a point this season.
Is the race leader.
Perez is leading, which suggests that he's got to come in. Well, Perez is in. Yellow flag behind. Button is now the man in 6th.
Okay, the incident has been cleared. Let's get back up to
What
racing
has happened
speed.
back there? whatever it is, it's given us quite the gap. Perez slots out behind us. He's now 5th. We're in 4th. What is happening? Ericsson, I wonder if Ericsson's had an incident trying to defend and has been knocked out the points. It seemingly be just his luck this season, I think. As we're checking for Perez behind. All over the grass, but Dunlop, got to be careful. No grip on there. There's loads of time. Look at that. Perez is through. Bottas is right behind him. Button as well. Just all it took there. The field closed right up to us. No pressure either, he's too busy looking behind. Just inside as we head towards 130, our Button's going to try and go with him as well. Bottas collide a little bit. Oh, right.
Are you okay? That was a big one. Confirm you're okay.
So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. It's a good result for Lewis Hamilton, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. Now then, Anthony Davidson, who was your driver of the day?
Let's give it to Kevin Magnussen. That was a commanding performance today. Very impressive indeed.
And now let's take a look at the constructors' standings. Mercedes have extended their lead at the top of the standings. After all this drama, you'd be mad not to join us for the next race. We hope to see you then. Take care.
Well, a pretty woeful, for the most part, Japanese Grand Prix comes to an end with us in the wall. Maybe shouldn't have tried to hang it to the outside of Bottas in 130R, but was desperately trying to hold on to the place. Kimi Raikkonen takes the victory ahead of Daniel Ricciardo. Rosberg's in 3rd, then it's Perez, Bottas, Hamilton, Vettel, Magnussen. Ericsson does score points and gets his first points of the season. In 9th, then it's Hulkenberg, Alonso, Sainz, Nasser, Gutierrez, Grosjean, Kvyat. Button down in 17th. He must have got caught up in my incident. Pascal 18th, ahead of Verstappen, who has a bad day at the office. We are out with Jolyon Palmer and Felipe Massa. And what does that do to the stand-ins? Well, Lewis Hamilton leads Nico Rosberg now by 87 points. He moves ahead of Verstappen, who drops to 3rd. Raikkonen and Ricciardo both jump Vettel, who drops to 6th. Bottas is 7th, and it's Massa. Perez moving into 9th ahead of Hulkenberg. We're now 20 behind the Mexican. Jensen remains 11th, but only 4 points ahead still. We are still 12th ahead of Alonso, Kvyat, Magnussen, Wehrlein, Sainz, Gutierrez, Grosjean, Nasser, Palmer. Ericsson is still last, but he has points on the board. In the Constructors, Mercedes 117 clear of Red Bull. Ferrari remain 3rd ahead of Williams, Force India, McLaren. We remain 7th ahead of Toro Rosso, Renault, Haas and Sauber. And yeah, it was a pretty dreadful race. Truth be told, that one. It actually genuinely looked like we were going to salvage something and made a mistake. Under no pressure, really, from Sergio Perez behind us, and for some reason we got on the grass, and then it led to Bottas and Button having a run at us into 130R. We tried to hang it around the outside, it was never going to work. We went so wide, we clipped the gravel, lost the rear, into the wall, 2 wheels off, out of the race. Another DNF this season, I think that's our 6th. But considering as how bad qualifying was, fine. Yeah, that is our 6th DNF of the season. It was a pretty dismal race, to be honest, up to that point. Like I say, we almost salvaged something out of it right at the death. 4 rounds left, though, this season. Maybe, just maybe, we can still come out with a decent haul of points. Texas next, I think, and then it's Mexico, Brazil and Abu Dhabi. Hopefully you'll join me for the run into this season. Hopefully we can have a better time than we've just had here in Japan. Like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the good stuff. You know the drill by now. I'll see you for the next one in the US. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.